until the problem resolves itself. Chant over the locket before putting it on. Come to me, name, not away from me. Paths cross to me and home. And then the problem is solved. So, what kind of similarities are we seeing between this kind of magic and ceremonial magic?
Both kind of creepy.
Yeah, they're both kind of creepy. I mean, that is, love magic is always creepy.
There was the law of contagion involved,
Yeah, the law of contagion was evolved because you're taking the dirt from the jogger's shoe.
as well as law of names, because names.
Yep, the name is in it. There's also the law of similarity because it's dirt from the jogging shoe. The issue is that he's jogging too much. The resolution of the problem was that he missed a marathon. Spent more time with his girlfriend. So,
Or he got his legs.
well, yeah, I mean, that would be the other kind of.
That's like monkey's paws logic right there.
Yeah.
Or you spend more time with the, and then yeah, now suddenly full body paralysis. Spend all the time going.
So, practical magic is interesting because it follows all of these laws, but people who do practical magic don't know them. They're just like, oh, well.
These are coming across as not like academic, Renaissance, crypto-Christianity based magic so much as the kind of stuff that grandmothers in West Virginia would have told people to do in the 1920s.
Right. But it operates off of those laws. You know, there's sympathetic magic there. There's the law of contagion. There's the law of names.
I'm not criticizing this at all. I actually find this sociologically, among other reasons, kind of more interesting.
Yeah, it is definitely a different kind of interesting. But what it's like, it's the dilution of ceremonial magic. It's taking it and saying, let's remove the knowledge from it. And let's just do magic.
Practical magic.
It's a proletarian.
It breaks the law of knowledge.
It doesn't break the law of knowledge, because you can't break the law.
Self-knowledge.
But it's not taking advantage of the law of knowledge. Because the law of knowledge is more you know, the more power you get. This, you know less, so you're getting less power. Okay. Then, let's move on to chaos magic, which is sort of, ceremonial magic gets diluted in two directions. One direction is practical magic, where the dilution is fairly straightforward. You remove the difficult parts, and you just keep sort of the core, which is sympathetic magic, law of contagion, the laws of magic, but there's less formality. You don't have to draw that on the floor 9 feet in diameter, exactly precisely. You can just take a mirror and shatter it and then bury it in the ground. And without any explanation as to why it works. The other direction of dilution is called chaos magic. Chaos magic is fun, because what chaos magic does is it says, law of pragmatism, if it works, it's true. I like that. Actually, chaos magic has a creed that probably a lot of you are familiar with, and the first person, Grayson, you don't count. Who can tell me where this is from? I don't know, like a bonus one or something.
Damn it. I know it's going to be already.
Okay, whatever.
Law of equivalence.
No? No, it's from
My
something
guess.
else.
Oh, that wasn't that? Okay, never mind.
Nothing is true, everything is permitted.
Damn you!
It's something that the Hashishim in the 12th and 13th centuries would say before the statues. It shows up in, I think, a series of Assassin's Creed.
It does show up in Assassin's Creed. Yep. That is the creed of chaos magic. And I actually don't know if it, like, Assassin's Creed took it from chaos magic. Was it, do you actually know for a fact that it was related to the
It's
Hashishim?
historically attested.
A really famous Hashishim said before he died.
Yeah. Before he assassinated the king. So
Before he,
You know, it's the king of James.
Yeah. Well, he assassinated. Well, yeah, they go into crowds, assassinate somebody, and then kind of take it for granted they'd be shot full of arrows by the crowd when they have this part.
So, that's the creed of chaos magic. And the idea of chaos magic is, let's take the law of pragmatism and let's play with it. Basically, the only rule is that if something works, it's true. There are no other rules. You can do whatever you want. And there are some guidelines to some generic chaos magics, which use sigils. Now, a sigil is a symbol like that one. right? And so they've seen that this sort of magic works. So they're like, okay, let's make it less of a pain in the ass. So a way that you can make a sigil with chaos magic is you can find one like that, or you can write down a phrase that you want to happen. So,
My boss will die and I will take his job.
what?
My boss will die and I will
My boss will die and I will take his job. You take that phrase and you remove every repeating letter from it, which will result in a much shorter thing, a bunch of letters. So like if you take my boss will die and I will take his job, then you cross out every repeating letter, you'll get a bunch of letters, but it'll be shorter. You take those letters and you arrange them in a certain sort of way that feels right to you in one symbol. So, the kind of sigil that you get with chaos magic, this is not related to anything, it's just off the top of my head, might be like, okay, so that might be a sigil from, for good measure. That might be a sigil from chaos magic. That sigil is going to mean something to the person who made it. It doesn't mean anything to me because I didn't put any effort into it, but if I did put effort into it, it would have a meaning. It would essentially be the same as a word, or a series of words.
The letters that you get from that, right, they are M, Y, N, H.
No, you don't, you
Like boss
only
would be
remove
meals.
every repeating letter,
Oh,
so you would keep the B and the O and the first S, but remove the second.
every
Yes.
double letter.
But
Oh.
the thing is, you could also do that, because if it works, it's true. So you could try that and see if it works.
Bashar al-Assad will no longer be president of Syria by December 31st, 2012.
There you go. You can do stuff like that, remove the second letter, make a sigil. Then, since what the Solomonic magister would do is he would charge the circle. What they would do is they typically have a brazier and burn specific types of incense and say words of power. The chaos mage is going to be a bit more liberal and just charge it in a sort of way that they feel like. There are some particularly interesting ways, which we will get to later.
Right. Pour
No
blood
spoilers.
and then burn it.
No, that's later. So you charge your circle, perhaps by thinking about it very deeply, and then you take it, and now it has power. So you release that power in some way. Some people will bury it. Some people will burn it. Some people will tear it up. You know, it really, it's chaos magic. You can do whatever as long as it works.
Combination there.
Yeah.
We all
The types of magic you described before, it seemed like power was coming from at least partially an external organism. It doesn't seem like you're getting any power from yourself with chaos magic. That would be fair.
Yeah. That's often the case, but since it's chaos magic, you could pull it from somewhere else. So you could say, I invoke the powers of Zeus to charge the sigil, and then if you believe, Zeus will come and charge your sigil, if that works. If it doesn't work, then you try something else. It's very scientific method. You just keep trying things and see what works and see where you can take it. So,
Trial and error.
what?
Science is chaos.
No, because chaos magic was invented in the 70s, and I'm pretty sure, I've heard we had science before that.
Hello.
A little bit, okay.
Kind of sort of.
So you make a sigil, you charge it with power, you release that power, the power is released into the world, and the world changes according to your will in some sort of way, if it worked. If it didn't work, you try something else. The thing is, when it does work, you also try something else, and you try something else that makes sense, and you pull it a step further. Because basically what chaos mages do is they take these rules and they just abuse the shit out of them. They're like, well, if it works, it's true. Okay. Well, what's a good way to release power? Orgasms.
Yeah.
What's a good way to release energy from something? Well, chemical reactions. Burning.
Fire.
Yeah, so there are chaos mages that'll like make a sigil and then jerk off on it and light it on fire. And that is actually a thing. And that's my personal issue with certain types of chaos mages.
Super effective.
Because
The releasing power things. That's kind of,
So stupid.
if
you've ever seen Doctor Strangelove, it's like what that director did.
Oh yeah,
It's kind
the
of-
essence.
Mm.
I don't know about release that necessarily.
Burning releases the excess power remaining.
Something like that. Yeah.
Well, sorry, you were saying something that you didn't quite finish saying.
What was I saying?
You started talking about Doctor Strangelove. And I was gonna say something.
What is
You were
the
saying
first
your
notion of
objection
chaos?
stick.
Oh,
My issue with
I was
right.
actually gonna say something else though after
My
that.
issue with chaos magic is that it's unrestricted, which is the biggest benefit and the biggest downfall. You know, it's a double-edged sword because you can do practical magic and have it contain knowledge, have it include knowledge of these laws and be well thought out instead of just finding a book and being like, oh, in this situation I should take my cat, rub her down with olive oil, and then put her in a bath containing soap that smells like hydrangeas. Like, because the book told you to. You can be like, well, because of this thing that I've thought of, and this thing that I know that works, and this thing that was in this book that I found in the
I should
library.
keep my cat and rubber down with olive oil during the bath.
I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. I would be careful. It might summon, like, Cthulhu.
When in doubt,
I mean, actually, no, it's water, so Dagon.
Yeah.
Anyway, so...
Wait, is Cthulhu's true name? Is that what
The
you know? A lot of
association with-
people
No,
know the true name is?
Probably
No,
not.
but there are problems with pronouncing Hastur.
Now,
Yeah.
is Cthulhu considered a fictional character, or is he actually, or H.P. Lovecraft's actually going on something?
I think Cthulhu is considered to be inspired by certain things, but a fictional character.
That's what I thought.
That will not stop chaos mages. And they will invoke fictional characters. So you might find someone who's like, I need to be more courageous. I'm going to invoke the spirit of Crash Bandicoot. Okay, I mean, if it works for you, it's true. That's a rule.
Through that, couldn't some other entity then use the law of identification to make themselves into Crash Bandicoot?
Yes. Yes.
You're actually
You can-
summoning Cthulhu when he looks like Matt Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
Or summoning a
It
Bandicoot?
runs into the problems of ludicrous excess. Yeah.
So I used to know a few people that consider themselves chaos magicians, and I just wanted to say what they told me about it, because it's
Please
slightly
do
different
so.
from what you're saying.
Okay.
They didn't do any. First of all, they went pretty strongly off of Austin Osman Spare, who's considered, I guess, kind of the godfather of that. Although other people kind of spun it off in different directions.
Yeah, there are
in the
lots of
70s.
different directions that it went.
But they were really into him, and so they didn't do any like summoning or invoking of entities, gods, whatever. And the whole like the theory of the sigil was definitely the center of the whole thing. But it was like you do some kind of ceremony to like raise, to charge it with your intentions, essentially. And then whether it's jerking off or burning it, or actually those would have different roles, because there's supposed to be like the moment of like totally charging it is like
Yep. Well,
you
those
have to
are
have a
two
physical
different
like a huh?
Those are two different parts. You actually,
Yeah, yeah.
Jerking off when it charges it, lighting on fire releases that energy. But continue.
Yeah, well, that you go into like basically that the theory. What the sigil does is that it's sort of a way of like implanting this intention into your subconscious, which will make it really happen in ways that your conscious mind doesn't have access to.
Yeah.
And part of that was that you had to forget about it afterwards. You had to try to make yourself forget what it was. So after this intense experience of like, whether it's orgasm or like the death posture where you stand like this for as long as you can, or like other sort of ascetic or, you know, shamanic techniques or whatever, like you have this liminal physical experience where you're like not
more pulver.
well, basically the point of it is like you're getting away from your body, sort of, like your sense of your physical presence, and just your mind, spirit, intention, whatever is sort of like at its maximum at that point. And then afterwards you have to try to forget what it was.
That's certainly something that people do. Because chaos magic it already has different like belief systems. So some people are definitely more liberal with it, and like, because chaos magic is intrinsically let's break the rules, guys. And then some people like made new rules out of it, whereas other people are just keep going. So it sounds like the system that your friends were related to
I mean-
was one that sort of was like use chaos magic to get to a point and then works on fleshing that out.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point is that the source of power is like